In the profound silence that follows the final exhalation, when the rhythm that has measured every moment of a lifetime suddenly ceases, we find ourselves standing at the edge of the greatest mystery known to human consciousness. This is the threshold where all our carefully constructed understanding crumbles into dust, where the mind's desperate need for certainty meets the infinite unknown. Here, at this sacred boundary between what we call life and what lies beyond, the soul confronts questions that have haunted humanity since our first ancestor gazed upon death and wondered what becomes of the spark that once animated the flesh. The moment of death is not merely a biological event. It is a cosmic transition that reverberates through dimensions we can barely comprehend. Like a stone dropped into still water, this singular moment sends ripples across the fabric of existence itself, touching realms both seen and unseen. The body, which has served as consciousness's faithful vessel through decades of joy and sorrow, triumph and defeat, slowly releases its grip on the animating force that gave it purpose. Yet in this release lies not an ending, but a transformation so profound that our earthbound minds can scarcely grasp its magnitude. Edgar Cayce, that remarkable seer whose inner vision pierced the veils that separate the visible from the invisible, brought to our desperate questioning a light that illuminates the darkness of our deepest fears. Through his extraordinary gift, a capacity to transcend the ordinary boundaries of perception and peer into the very mechanics of existence, he witnessed what others could only speculate about. His insights emerge not from philosophical speculation or religious doctrine, but from direct observation of the soul's journey through the mystery of death itself. In the twilight realm between heartbeat and eternity, where medical science meets ancient wisdom, profound questions arise that strike at the very core of our being. Can consciousness truly survive the dissolution of its physical housing? Does some essential aspect of who we are persist beyond the grave's threshold? And perhaps most urgently for those who love deeply, can the departing spirit feel the flames that consume its former earthly vessel? These are not merely intellectual puzzles to be solved by clever reasoning, but existential challenges that touch the deepest chambers of the human heart. They arise from love itself, from our profound attachment to those whose lives have intertwined with our own, from our desperate need to know that death does not bring suffering to those we cherish most. The fear that haunts many contemplating cremation is not about their own fate, but about the welfare of the beloved consciousness that once animated the body, now committed to flame. Through the gift of extraordinary sight that transcended ordinary perception, Edgar Cayce became a witness to realms that exist beyond the reach of physical senses. In those profound trance states where consciousness expands beyond the confines of the individual mind, he observed the delicate and sacred choreography of the soul's departure from physical form. What he saw there, in those mystical depths of expanded awareness, reveals death not as the enemy we have been taught to fear, but as a gentle midwife attending the birth of the soul into its true nature. Like an ancient oracle reading the sacred texts written in the very fabric of existence, Cayce perceived the dying process as a masterpiece of cosmic design, a carefully orchestrated symphony in which every note serves the greater harmony of transformation. Through his inner vision, he witnessed consciousness slowly gathering itself, like morning mist rising from the earth, preparing to shed the garment of flesh that has both sheltered and limited its expression throughout earthly incarnation. In these moments of profound insight, Cayce saw what we in our fear-driven imaginings cannot fathom. That death is not a violent severing, but a gentle loosening, not a traumatic rupture, but a natural unfurling. The soul, he observed, does not cling desperately to its dying vessel, but instead begins to expand. Like a butterfly, sensing the moment has come to emerge from its chrysalis. There is no panic in this process, No desperate struggle against the inevitable, but rather a deep and ancient knowing that recognizes the approach of liberation. The departing consciousness, in Cayce's observations, moves through this transition with the wisdom of something returning home after a long journey in a foreign land. It carries with it the treasures of earthly experience, the lessons learned through joy and sorrow, the love given and received, the growth achieved through countless encounters with beauty and challenge. Yet it also begins to remember what it had temporarily forgotten during its sojourn in flesh. Its true nature as an immortal spark of the divine, temporarily housed but never contained by physical form. What emerges from these mystical glimpses is a vision of death as metamorphosis rather than termination. The caterpillar does not die when it becomes a butterfly. It transforms so completely that its previous mode of existence becomes merely a memory of a necessary stage in its development. Similarly, the human soul does not perish at death, but undergoes a transformation so radical, so complete, that its former identification with physical form dissolves like ice returning to water, like water becoming vapor, like vapor joining the infinite sky. This understanding, born from direct spiritual perception rather than hopeful speculation, offers us a new lens through which to view the mystery of death. It invites us to release our grip on the fearful narratives that have shaped our relationship with mortality and to embrace instead a vision of death as the soul's graduation ceremony, its transition from one classroom of existence to another, more expanded realm of learning and being. In the mystical geography of human existence, Edgar Cayce spoke of a luminous thread that connects soul to body throughout the entire journey of earthly incarnation. A silver cord of ethereal substance that serves as the lifeline between spirit and flesh. This gossamer bridge, invisible to physical sight yet more real than any material bond we might touch or see, represents one of the most profound mysteries in the architecture of human existence. It is the umbilical cord of consciousness itself, the delicate tether that allows the infinite soul to inhabit the finite vessel of the body while never losing its connection to the greater cosmos from which it emerged. Like moonbeams reflected on still water, this silver cord shimmers between dimensions, anchoring the soul's vast consciousness to the specific coordinates of individual human experience. Through this luminous pathway flows the very essence of life itself, not merely biological animation, but the divine spark that transforms mere matter into a temple of awareness. It is through this cord that the soul experiences touch, taste, sight, and sound, translating the infinite language of spirit into the finite vocabulary of physical sensation. During the sacred process of dying, Cayce observed, this ethereal umbilical begins its gradual dissolution. Like morning mist retreating before the advancing warmth of dawn, the silver cord slowly releases its hold on the physical realm. This is not a violent severing, not a brutal cutting that brings trauma or pain, but rather a gentle unwinding that occurs with the same natural grace as a flower releasing its petals when its time of blooming is complete. The cord thins and fades, becoming ever more translucent as the soul prepares to withdraw from its earthly dwelling. This process of dissolution represents one of the most crucial keys to understanding the relationship between the departing spirit and the physical vessel it leaves behind. As long as the silver cord remains intact, some connection exists between consciousness and body, a bridge across which sensation might theoretically travel. But Cayce's observations reveal that this bridge weakens progressively throughout the dying process, becoming ever more tenuous until, at the moment of complete separation, it dissolves entirely into the luminous ether from which it first emerged. Understanding this sacred severance becomes essential to comprehending whether the departing spirit remains bound to experience the physical vessel's ultimate fate. Like a ship that has slipped its moorings and drifted beyond the harbor. The liberated soul finds itself in waters where the laws and limitations of the physical world no longer apply. The silver cord, once dissolved, cannot be re-established any more than spilled water can be returned to its original vessel, unchanged. In this understanding lies profound comfort for those who wrestle with questions about their loved one's experience during cremation. The silver cord's dissolution ensures that no pathway remains through which physical sensation, including the touch of flame, could reach the departed consciousness. The soul, having released its ethereal tether to the material realm, soars free in dimensions where pain and pleasure, heat and cold, comfort and discomfort exist only as distant memories of a previous mode of existence. This sacred severance represents not loss, but liberation, not abandonment, but ascension to a more authentic mode of being. The silver cord, having served its purpose as the bridge between heaven and earth, dissolves like a scaffolding removed once the building is complete, leaving behind the magnificent structure of consciousness itself, finally free to explore the infinite mansions of existence that await beyond the threshold of physical death. In the sacred traditions that stretch back through the mists of human memory, there exists a profound recognition of a mysterious interval, a liminal space of 3 days that bridges the chasm between earthly death and the soul's complete liberation into whatever realm awaits beyond. This ancient wisdom, whispered in mystery schools and encoded in religious texts across cultures and centuries, finds remarkable confirmation in Edgar Cayce's visionary observations of consciousness during its transition from mortal to immortal existence. Like a traveler pausing at a crossroads to gather bearings before choosing the path forward, the newly departed soul requires this sacred interval to fully comprehend the magnitude of its transformation. These 3 days represent far more than mere chronological time. They constitute a psychological and spiritual gestation period during which consciousness undergoes perhaps the most profound metamorphosis possible. Like a dreamer slowly awakening from deep sleep, gradually distinguishing dream from reality, memory from immediate experience, the departing soul moves through stages of recognition and release that cannot be rushed or abbreviated. This is the chrysalis time, when the caterpillar of earthly identity dissolves completely to make way for the butterfly of liberated consciousness. During these precious hours, the soul exists in a state that defies our ordinary understanding of presence and absence, connection and separation. Sometimes confused by the radical shift in its mode of existence, sometimes peaceful in its growing awareness of freedom, the consciousness hovers between the familiar territory of physical embodiment and the vast, uncharted realms that stretch beyond death's threshold. Like an immigrant arriving in a new country, the soul must learn new languages of existence, adapt to unfamiliar laws of being, and gradually release its attachment to the customs and limitations of its former homeland. Cayce's mystical observations reveal that during this transitional period, the departing consciousness may experience moments of bewilderment, alternating with flashes of cosmic understanding. The soul might find itself momentarily drawn back toward the body it has inhabited for decades, confused by the absence of familiar sensations and responses. Yet with each passing hour, this confusion gives way to expanding awareness as the consciousness begins to remember its true nature and destination. Like fog lifting from a valley at sunrise, the veils of earthly identification gradually dissolve, revealing the luminous landscape of the soul's authentic home. This 3-day vigil holds profound significance for understanding the spirit's relationship to its former physical vessel. During the early hours of this transition, some ethereal connection may still linger between consciousness and body, like the last threads of a web slowly dissolving in morning dew. However, as the soul progressively awakens to its new state of being, even these final gossamer links to physical existence fade completely. The body becomes increasingly irrelevant to the departing consciousness, which finds itself drawn ever more powerfully toward dimensions of light and love that make earthly concerns seem like half-remembered dreams from childhood. By the completion of this sacred interval, the soul has fully awakened to its liberated state. No longer does it identify with the physical form that served as its temporary dwelling. No longer does it experience any connection to the material realm where pain and pleasure exist. The 3-day journey transforms the consciousness from a being anchored in flesh to a pure spirit, free to explore the infinite cosmos of divine existence. In this completion lies the ultimate assurance that whatever may occur to the physical remains, whether burial, cremation, or any other treatment, cannot touch the liberated soul that has already begun its eternal dance among the stars. Throughout the vast tapestry of Edgar Cayce's spiritual teachings, a profound reverence emerges for the physical vessel that houses the divine spark during its earthly sojourn. In his mystical understanding, the human body transcends the mechanistic view of modern materialism. It is not mere flesh and bone, not simply a biological machine that operates according to chemical and electrical processes, but rather a sacred temple purposefully designed and lovingly maintained by cosmic intelligence to shelter the immortal soul throughout its educational journey in the realm of matter and time. This temple metaphor carries profound implications that extend far beyond poetic language into the very heart of how we understand the relationship between spirit and flesh. Just as ancient temples were constructed with precise attention to sacred geometry, cosmic alignments, and divine proportions, the human body emerges in Cayce's vision as an architectural marvel designed by infinite wisdom to provide the perfect environment for consciousness to experience, learn, and grow within the unique constraints and opportunities of physical existence. Every cell, every organ, every intricate system within this biological temple serves not merely survival functions, but spiritual purposes. The heart pumps not only blood but the rhythm of divine love through the vessel of incarnation. The brain serves not merely as a processing center for sensory data, but as a receiver and transmitter for cosmic intelligence. The hands become instruments through which the soul can touch and shape the physical world, expressing love through service, creativity through craft, healing through gentle contact with others who share this earthly pilgrimage. Even in the moment of death, when the soul prepares to vacate its earthly dwelling, Cayce emphasized that the physical temple retains a subtle but significant connection to the consciousness that once animated it. This connection, however, is not one of continued inhabitation or ongoing sensation, but rather of reverent recognition, like a grateful child acknowledging the home that provided shelter, warmth, and protection throughout the vulnerable years of growth and development. The departing soul looks back upon its physical vessel with deep appreciation for the service it has rendered, the experiences it has made possible, the lessons it has facilitated through decades of faithful operation. This understanding transforms our perspective on the treatment of physical remains from a question of the deceased's comfort to a matter of honoring the sacred vessel that enabled a soul's earthly journey. The body becomes a memorial to consciousness itself, a testament to the remarkable collaboration between spirit and matter that makes human existence possible. Like a cathedral that continues to inspire reverence, even when no longer filled with worshippers, the physical temple deserves respectful treatment while no longer serving as consciousness's active dwelling place. Yet this respect must be balanced with the recognition that the temple's primary purpose has been fulfilled. Once the soul has completed its departure, the body transforms from a living sanctuary into a sacred monument to the journey that has concluded. The consciousness that once called this temple home has expanded beyond all physical boundaries, carrying with it the essence of every experience, every lesson, every moment of love that the temple made possible. What remains is not the soul's prison, but its grateful memorial. a physical reminder of the magnificent partnership between heaven and earth that characterizes human incarnation. In this light, the various ways humans choose to honor physical remains, whether through burial, cremation, or other methods, become rituals of gratitude rather than concerns about ongoing comfort. The departed soul, having transcended all physical limitations and sensations, observes these ceremonies with the detached compassion of one who has graduated from a beloved school, appreciating the honor being paid to the classroom where so much learning occurred while feeling no attachment to the building itself. In the mystical cartography that Edgar Cayce revealed through his extraordinary gift of inner sight, human beings exist not as single-layered creatures of flesh and bone, but as multidimensional beings possessing subtle vehicles of consciousness that interpenetrate and transcend the boundaries of physical matter. Among these invisible aspects of our nature, the etheric body stands as perhaps the most crucial to understanding the mechanics of death and the soul's relationship to physical sensation. This luminous double, composed of pure life force and vital energy, serves as the bridge between the dense matter of physical form and the refined frequencies of spiritual consciousness. Like a template of living light that gives shape and vitality to every cell, every organ, every system within the physical vessel. The etheric body maintains the perfect pattern of health and wholeness that guides biological function throughout earthly incarnation. It is this subtle anatomy that channels the breath of life into matter, transforming inert carbon and minerals into the miracle of living tissue. Through its intricate networks of energy, the etheric form delivers not only biological animation, but the very capacity for sensation itself. The ability to feel pleasure and pain, warmth and cold, comfort and discomfort through the physical nervous system. During the sacred process of death, Cayce observed through his mystical perception, this etheric double begins its gradual withdrawal from the material vessel it has animated throughout the lifetime. Like morning mist rising from a still lake as the sun's warmth increases, the life force slowly extricates itself from the dense matrix of physical matter. This withdrawal occurs not suddenly or violently, but with the same gentle inevitability as autumn leaves releasing their hold on the branches that supported them through seasons of growth and change. As this ethereal essence begins its ascension from flesh to spirit, it carries with it all capacity for physical sensation. The etheric body serves as the actual vehicle through which consciousness experiences touch, temperature, pressure, and pain within the material realm. Without this subtle interface between spirit and matter, the physical vessel becomes like a sophisticated machine whose operator has departed. All the mechanical components may remain intact, but the animating intelligence and the capacity for experiential awareness have withdrawn to dimensions beyond physical reach. This withdrawal represents a complete and irreversible transformation in the soul's mode of existence, like water evaporating into vapor and rising beyond the container that once held it. The etheric essence ascends through progressively more refined layers of reality until it achieves complete separation from the material plane. Once this separation is accomplished, no pathway remains through which physical sensations could reach the liberated consciousness. The bridge between spirit and flesh has been permanently dissolved, leaving the physical remains as empty of sensation as a discarded garment. The implications of this etheric withdrawal extend far beyond academic understanding into the realm of profound comfort for those who love deeply and fear for their departed one's welfare. If physical pain requires the presence of the etheric body to be transmitted to consciousness, and if death involves the complete withdrawal of this subtle vehicle, then the liberated soul exists in a state of absolute freedom from all physical sensation. The flames of cremation, the cold of earth, the passage of time. None of these material conditions can reach the consciousness that has transcended the etheric bridge between spirit and matter. This understanding reveals cremation not as a potentially traumatic experience for the departed soul, but as a transformation that occurs entirely within the material realm, while the liberated consciousness explores dimensions where sensation operates according to entirely different principles. The fire touches only the abandoned temple, never the soul that once called it home. The etheric withdrawal ensures that the departing spirit soars free from all physical limitations, forever beyond the reach of material discomfort, eternally, liberated into realms where love and light replace pain and pleasure as the fundamental experiences of existence. Cayce's mystical revelations transport consciousness beyond the familiar shores of physical existence into vast oceanic realms where the soul discovers its authentic nature and true home. Here, in dimensions that exist parallel to yet utterly transcendent of material reality, the newly liberated spirit encounters a universe governed by laws so different from earthly physics that our language struggles to contain their magnificence. These are the realms of pure thought and crystallized intention, where consciousness moves with the speed of desire and creates reality through the simple act of focused attention. In these luminous dimensions beyond death's threshold, the soul awakens to freedoms that were impossible during its earthbound incarnation. No longer constrained by the dense vibrations of matter, no longer limited by the slow processes of physical manifestation, consciousness expands into its natural state of infinite potential. Like a deep-sea creature suddenly released into the vast open ocean, the spirit discovers mobility and perspective that make its former earthly existence seem like a beautiful but confining aquarium, necessary for a certain stage of development, but ultimately transcended in the journey toward greater wholeness. The very concept of pain, as human beings understand and fear it, belongs exclusively to the realm of physical sensation and nervous system response. Pain serves as matter's teacher, warning of damage, signaling the need for protection, motivating the behaviors necessary for biological survival. But in the dimensions where consciousness naturally dwells after death, these crude alarm systems become as obsolete as winter clothing in eternal spring. The soul's new environment operates on principles of harmony and resonance, where discord creates not painful sensation, but natural movement toward greater alignment with cosmic truth. In these realms of pure being, the liberated spirit discovers that what we call suffering during earthly existence was merely the friction created when infinite consciousness pressed against finite limitations. Like a powerful river forced through narrow channels, the soul experienced turbulence and resistance during its physical incarnation. But now, released into the boundless ocean of its true nature, that same spiritual force flows with effortless grace, encountering no obstacles to its natural expression of love, wisdom, and creative power. The soul's attention, no longer anchored to physical survival needs or bodily maintenance, turns toward pursuits that make earthly concerns seem like the preoccupations of childhood. Here, consciousness engages with pure light, not the electromagnetic radiation familiar to physical eyes, but the living luminosity of divine intelligence itself. It communes with love in its undiluted essence, not the need-based attachments of human relationships, but the cosmic force that binds all existence in perfect unity. It participates in learning that transcends the accumulation of information to become direct knowing, immediate understanding, and spontaneous wisdom. These dimensions beyond the flesh reveal themselves as the soul's natural habitat, the environment, for which consciousness was originally designed before its voluntary descent into material form. Like a bird that has spent time in a beautiful cage, suddenly remembering the joy of flight, the liberated spirit recalls abilities and awareness that physical incarnation had temporarily obscured. It remembers how to communicate through direct thought transference, how to travel through focused intention, how to create through the power of purified desire aligned with cosmic will. In this rediscovered paradise of consciousness, the soul realizes that its earthly journey, with all its apparent limitations and sufferings, served as a magnificent curriculum of growth and expansion. The temporary forgetting of its true nature allowed for experiences of discovery, courage, and transformation that would have been impossible while fully conscious of its divine identity. Now, enriched by the treasures of human experience, yet freed from human limitations, the spirit dances in realms where every thought becomes a flower, every feeling becomes music, and every act of love adds another star to the infinite constellation of cosmic harmony. In Edgar Cayce's profound understanding of death's sacred mysteries, cremation emerges not merely as a practical method for handling physical remains, but as a ritual of extraordinary spiritual significance, a ceremony that serves purposes far deeper than the simple disposal of matter. The purifying flames that transform solid form back into its constituent elements participate in an ancient and holy process that echoes the very patterns through which consciousness itself transforms from one state of being to another. Like the phoenix of mythological wisdom, cremation represents not destruction, but metamorphosis, not ending but sacred translation from one dimension of existence to another. The fire that consumes the physical temple serves as a ritual of complete release, helping to dissolve any lingering threads of etheric connection that might still bind the departing soul to its former earthly vessel. Just as ancient alchemists understood fire as the great transformer that separates the gross from the subtle, the temporal from the eternal, cremation flames work to ensure the soul's complete liberation from any residual attachment to material form. This is not destruction, but purification, the gentle severing of the last gossamer ties that might otherwise delay the spirit's full emergence into its authentic realm of being. Throughout human history, cultures have recognized fire as the sacred element that bridges earthly and celestial realms. From the funeral pyres that sent Viking heroes across the Rainbow Bridge to Valhalla, to the sacred flames that carried Hindu souls toward their divine destination, fire has served as humanity's chosen messenger between the seen and unseen worlds. In cremation, these ancient wisdoms find modern expression. The flames become a bridge of light across which consciousness travels from its temporary dwelling in matter to its permanent home in spirit. The transformative power of cremation fire operates on multiple levels simultaneously. On the physical plane, it reduces complex biological structures to their essential elements, returning to earth and air what was borrowed from them during the lifetime of incarnation. On the emotional plane, it provides a definitive ritual of release that helps grieving families accept the reality of their loved one's transition and liberation. On the spiritual plane, it serves as a cosmic ceremony that announces to all dimensions the soul's readiness for complete freedom from material constraints. Most significantly, Cayce's insights reveal that cremation flames touch only the abandoned temple, never the consciousness that once called it home. The fire encounters matter but cannot reach spirit, burns flesh but cannot affect the luminous essence that has already ascended beyond all physical boundaries. Like sunlight passing through an empty window, the flames find no resistance from consciousness, because consciousness has already departed for realms where fire exists, not as consuming heat, but as divine light. The same sacred fire that burns in the heart of stars and the core of the cosmic intelligence that governs all existence. This understanding transforms cremation from a potentially frightening prospect into a celebration of liberation. The flames that worried family members might inflict suffering actually serve as cosmic midwives, assisting in the birth of consciousness into its true dimension of being. They provide the final ceremonial punctuation mark on the soul's earthly sentence, the last ritual gesture that says with finality, "This phase of the journey is complete. The spirit is free to explore the infinite mansions of existence that await beyond the threshold of physical death." For those who choose cremation for themselves or their loved ones, this knowledge brings profound peace. The fire serves not as an enemy of comfort, but as an ally of transformation, not as a source of pain, but as a gateway to absolute freedom. The flames honor the physical temple by providing it with a swift and complete transformation, while ensuring that the soul it once housed soars unimpeded into realms where love and light replace fire and heat as the fundamental forces of existence.